All right. Good evening, everyone. We have a pretty quiet scoreboard here as we get underway for qualifying for round 2 of OMEC Season 11. We are at Circuit de Spa-Francorchamps, if you like the big fancy titles. Let me grab over here and swip over to that race info real quick, and then we'll hop on board with a couple of these drivers and see what driving through a wet spa looks like. Fantastic endurance configuration, the long pit lane, so the pit strategy even slower than usual. It is an endurance round, so obviously we have 90 minutes of racing after this 30-minute qualifying. A chance for a safety car, competition caution, whatever you want to call it. Also available, GT3-4 and GT3s out on track, open qualifying, meaning everyone's on that track, and 50% fuel for these drivers. So, with that, I'm going to take us on board with the driver who is starting our lap, Adam Dahl. We're going to ride along with Adam Dahl. Hot dog water going across that start finish line. See what his lap is going to look like here as he gets underway. Round 1 in the books last week as he goes through La Source, and I'm going to talk to you about a couple other things as we keep this train moving. And we have some fascinating and very tight competition across all 4 classes here, GT3, GT4, Pro and Am respectively. A much scarier Eau Rouge Radeon complex as you try to navigate that and have the car end up sliding out from underneath you. Also in the booth with me, well, not right at this moment because he's giving the driver's briefing, but Kevin Hayes will be back in a moment. So it's not just myself, Fennicini, here with you all evening. You'll have some lovely driver input and some more balanced explanations of how things can go alongside me once he is back from his duties as an admin.
And that I am.
Oh, welcome back to the booth, Kevin. How are you doing this evening?
What a segue. I timed that beautifully.
You did.
I gave quite possibly one of the worst drivers meetings I've given. Pretty much told them, don't wreck, have fun, watch out for a safety car, listen to me. These boys know what they're doing. We're all professionals here.
A handful of new drivers this week, if I'm not mistaken, as they're getting through qualifying. I think everyone is in my roster for their split for GT3 and GT4 Pro and Am. So as we see drivers completing their laps here in a moment, such as Nicholas Maynard putting the fastest time on the board with that 2:37.45. We will see them pop up in the respective GT3 Pro and GT3 AM. We'll see the same for GT4 as well. Though I don't think I see... No, never mind. Both of them have arrived. We have 2 members in GT4 right now. I think that'll probably change for GT4 Pro. Is that right?
I'm sorry, can you repeat that? I saw a name that I am unfamiliar with, and I'm checking the roster. I don't know how they're in this session.
Which name?
Justin Lomelli.
Justin Lomelli.
Maybe he joined as a spectator. I might be crazy here.
I don't see him under our drivers, so I believe he's a spectator.
Could be a spectator. I believe he is spotting for Nicholas Maynard. That's why. I was panicking that I didn't have someone labeled correctly as a Pro or an AM. But yes, we're going to see 2 classes of cars, 2 divisions each, Pro and AM splits. A couple of the drivers who joined up today said they're going to be out here in the GT4, so love seeing that class continue to strengthen. Spa always brings a great turnout. People love this track. I'm not entirely sure why. It's fine.
So
not fun in the wet.
Not your favorite track in the world?
There's better tracks. I love Spa, but I think I've said this before. Spa is one of those tracks that in a downforce car is amazing. In GT cars, it just feels kind of lackluster to me. Though I did get some laps in last night in the practice session. I will say I did put the car P3 in the practice session before I left.
Fantastic.
So, first time out in the Porsche coming into the Spa-24 this weekend, which I think we've got close to 15 to 20 drivers in this field who are participating in the Spa-24 this weekend, either for the OMEC Sim team. I know Stellarum's going to have a couple teams out there. So, love to see people come in here, race this, and then we'll see everyone back out again this weekend for the Spa-24.
Yeah, I will also be joining y'all over on the racing side of things with my endurance team as well. So,
What car are you guys running?
we're running the Ferrari, at least the car that I'm in. We're all running a Ferrari and a Corvette this season, or this year.
Okay. I love the Ferrari here. There's one
It
or two corners gets a little tricky with it. It gets understeery going through. It's no name, I think.
Mm-hmm. No name.
But I don't know what car on the planet isn't understeery through no name. So
yeah, especially in the GT3 category. Speaking of the GT3 category, look at those times all over the place. It looks like as the rain continues to fall here in qualifying, Nicholas Maynard topping the timing charts with that 2:36.86, which I think is probably a little bit slower than what you were experiencing last night.
Yeah, about 20 seconds slower than I think the fastest time yesterday. Which, to be fair, in the rain around a track this long, that's not that bad. Only 12 cars have actually set time so far, so we've got a whole host of people who have been unable to put in a clean lap yet. Should get interesting. Hopefully the admins who set up the session do have the class split set properly. We have so the GT4s aren't starting intermingled with the GT3s.
Is there any easy way to clear that?
The way to do it would be for me just to tell them to get out of the way, which if is the situation, I will be doing that on the start.
Certainly.
So I'm looking at the weather here too, and it does look like in about 30 minutes in sim, the rain will come to a grinding halt. So the cell that was over the circuit, looks like the heavy stuff came about 15 minutes ago. So the track might be, I wouldn't say drying, but it's not getting wetter.
Gotcha.
So I think we'll see the track wetness sit pretty similar through all of qualifying. Sometimes, on that drying track, it's just whoever's out there last tends to be the one who sets the fastest lap. So I don't know if we'll see any of that game play here in about 20 minutes or so. It's going to be close. It might come down to whoever's last out there is the one who's going to be on pole.
Could be, but from what I'm seeing so far, they are going to have to bridge the 2 to 3 seconds between Justin Hall and Nicholas Maynard at the top of the grid order for the GT3s. GT4s, Sean Harvey, a commanding 257.48 to Jaden Rissard's 259, 0.71. Jaden Rissard is a newcomer for this week, joining the Tony Caicedo in the Outlander outfit, taking my seat in that team, which I'm excited to see what he's able to bring up in the GT4s. Only 2 seconds off Sean Harvey, both pretty quick drivers. Really, Sean Harvey and the rest of the GT4 class has some pretty good pace. We're going to see some of them probably move up to GT4 Pro after the end of this week, if I'm understanding the admins correctly there.
There is a little bit of consideration to split that class a little more evenly. I think we only have 2 people labeled as pros right now, which we've traditionally done, all based off of iRating when they join the league and then moving up later. But I believe we might move some people up, especially as we see their true pace on the track. I know that they're Jordan Yokobonis, if I'm pronouncing that name correctly. I really hope I am. Apologies, Jordan, if I'm not. He's not labeled as a pro or an AM yet, so we might just give him a label after this week.
Well, I will so far loop him into AM, and then we'll see where he falls.
That's the perfect spot. Who else are our newcomers this week? There is a name who I registered today who I'm not seeing out here, who I was looking for, but I do see Jordan's out here. Jordan Yokubonis is what I'm going to go with.
Yokobonis.
And I can't just call him Jordan because we also have Jordan Oliver in the Stellarum car. So, and they're both the GT4s. So that's not going to be an issue. We're gonna get that right every time tonight, right?
Absolutely, zero problems with that. Neither that or the double Landons we have with Landon Height and Landon Orr. Definitely no issues with only saying first names when we need to probably spell out all of the name to really clarify who we're talking about at any given time. But while we're still getting through a little bit more of qualifying, over halfway to go, why don't we take a quick look if I can pull it up really easily here. Some drivers' championship standings. You want to see what those look like?
Oh, I would love to see what those look like if you pulled them from the website.
I did pull the numbers from the website, so let's hop over to our points standings for these drivers. We'll have that ticker on the bottom, still giving those lap times to all the drivers that are currently out doing qualifying runs. And starting with GT3 Pro, we have Nicholas Maynard at the top of the points with 122, only 3 points behind Jesse Olsen of TBD, the TBD team. As I think him and I believe it was Justin Hall have not figured out a name for their team yet. William Master in third with 115, 110 for Nick Terrell in fourth. Patrick Cantel only 2 points behind. In fifth, Kelvin Collado, Ian Baker, Andre Saba, Matt Markley, and Michael Doyen are the top 10, going back to 95 points. So very tight competition here at the top. I think we'll probably see Nicholas Maynard pull a bigger gap today with that pole position that he's currently sitting with.
Well, it's the rain. It's the great equalizer. If Hulkenberg can get a podium in a Sauber, I don't know what's going to happen here. I mean, you see
Anything's
pros
possible.
throw the cars off track in the rain, so I would not be shocked to see maybe some surprises here today at the top of the order when this all shakes out.
Very good. I would like to believe it to be possible as well. We'll see where they come. Dan Griffin in 12th. If I think it's a good result here, he'll probably bounce further back up the order. I know he had a bit of a rough ride at Hungaroring last week. So we'll see where he puts that car tonight. You want to talk about GT3 AM and where they're sitting, Kevin?
Yeah, I'm trying to sort them out in the order. I mean, I'm looking at qualifying. Am I seeing this correctly? Marcus Osborne is sitting on pole in GT4 AM in 5th overall now in
that is
qualifying, which should bode well for him. I know he had a pretty abysmal week last week, propping up the standings now way down there in 13th. Luke Plaisance is someone who we actually considered putting up in the pro class, but I think we're giving him a chance to earn it through this season. He's out there in that beautiful Wonderbred Mustang, so I hope we can go over to that, the 007 car, and he is wiggling his tail all over the track right now out in qualifying. Joshua Harless in second place. They're only 6 points behind him in the standings in that Stellarum Starfarer car. I cannot tell you the differences off the top of my head what the Starfarer versus the other Stellarum Motorsports cars look like, but they all have some beautiful liveries made by who makes the liveries for that team again? Is it
Alex
Josh
Haller.
or is Alex Haller? Okay,
does the paintwork for them, as well as one of the drivers of the Stellaris Motorsports, I want to say Starfarer as well. One of the three teams, Pathfinder and Endeavor, I believe, are the three that are there for Stellaris.
They are some beautiful team paints. I mean, absolutely gorgeous, every single one of them. So good to see Josh up there in P2, Chris Wells in a Sudi car there in P3, and our favorite Landon Orr, who had a little bit of some issues last week too. So we'll see what happens. He's the GT4, he's the GT4 champ from last season. So I would expect to see him maybe start to climb the standings a little bit. And our boy Sauce sitting there in 5th place. So kind of excited to see what happens. Obviously, after week 1 to week 2, a lot of things can get shaken up. There was a lot of turmoil last week, particularly with the black flag situation going on at the Hungaroring. A lot of people taking drive-throughs late in the race. I would expect maybe on a wet track we might see some fun happen tonight too, and always the threat of a safety car, so you never really know what's going to happen there and shake up the order if someone pits at the wrong time or the right time.
Absolutely. I'm excited to see Richard Costanza also back in the grid this season from Veterans United alongside Michael Doyen and that team. It's always good to have many folks of different walks of life all come join us for racing here tonight. GT4 Pro, pretty small class so far. It's the one I think we're going to talk about more as the season gets going. One of my favorite classes to talk about. GT4 I think is underutilized, underrepresented in the iRacing community as a whole. Two drivers we have right now, but I think we're going to get some more after this week or in the next coming couple of weeks as we have some drivers get reevaluated which class they're going to get put in. Both currently, though, Kevin, are tied at 115 points for first place in the championship as it stands.
And if I'm not mistaken, if you want to click over to that AM screen really quick.
Certainly.
It's a three-way tie at the top of the AM at 116.
It certainly is. Between Devin Adams, Sean
So
Harvey,
we've got
Gary Yee.
5 drivers within a point in the GT4 class. So
Yes.
I know we technically had different classes for AM and Pro, but I'm sure some of those AM guys really love the fact that their top 3 is above the top 2 in Pro right now. And I bet a bunch of them are hoping to keep it that way after this week too.
I believe so. And Kenny Duvall, I believe, is also tied with Joe Evers and Tyler Roberts over in GT4 Pro at 115 points. So it's 6 drivers in total.
That's just ridiculous. There was only 8 drivers out last week. And they've managed to flip the order from race 1 to race 2 to all end up within a point of each other is pretty spectacular. So good. Expect some good close hard racing out in the GT4s this evening.
Absolutely. I think based on the times here, let's hop back over to our timing tower here and see where everyone's put their cars in various perspectives. A close battle there in GT4 AM between Jaden Roussard, Jaden Roussard, Devin Adams, Sean Harvey, all within about a second and a half of each other. So definitely going to be some tight competition there. 3 seconds between them and Tyler Roberts in the GT4 Pro category. Nicholas Maynard, hard hit there for that Mustang. Nicholas Maynard still keeping the GT3 Pro leaderboard, shaving 5 seconds off of his initial time. Or maybe, about 5 seconds off his initial time to a 2:35.79. Justin Hall now only a second away. Really half a second away at a 2:36.35. So. And Luke Plaisance has dethroned Marcus Osborne at the head of GT3 AM, excuse me. Any other notable drivers you think have had a fantastic qualifying or subpar?
Well, I'm looking at Mitch Buenaventura and Nick Terrell, yet to set a lap time. So we'll see how that shakes up in the next 10 minutes or so. I would expect to see those two itching to get in front of, 24, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. There are 35, if I'm counting correctly, 35 GT3 cars out there this evening. So I'm assuming, especially in the rain with the spray and everything, Mitch and Nick are not going to go for the first challenge as they may have last week. They might try to get out in front of some of that spray. It's definitely not something you want to be driving through, particularly on cold tires, going down the Kemmel Straight the first time.
See if I can go back a car. If it'll let me. So I'll hop in with, I believe we're riding along with the 142 of Jordan Oliver, who has yet to set a time. You can kind of see that spray off in the distance. So you feel like you're spending a lot more time off throttle in the GT4 machines than you are in the GT3s. I think that's due to even the less downforce and aero keeping the car planted, I believe, through most of these corners.
Yeah, and there's still some puddles and some really iffy spots. I see a puddle. I'm on board with Brody right now. A puddle at the bottom of Eau Rouge. As he's coming down here, I can see a puddle up ahead of him too, going down into Lake Combe. So it's going to be tricky. Rain's still about 15 minutes left, it looks like, on the radar before it lets up. So
okay.
I think this race is going to start under some pretty treacherous conditions for these guys. So first couple laps going to be all about survival before it gets a little racier as the race goes on. And maybe timing that transition over to dry tires is going to be really key here. I don't know, man. I love rain races. I love changeable conditions. I think it's going to be a a fun one out there tonight.
I think it's going to be a very fantastic and interesting race as these drivers have to make that transition, because it's always such a hard thing to nail down as like the right way to do it. And as a result, not the easiest to get done correctly.
No, and it's really tempting to be the first one to switch. Mm-hmm. Sometimes you're in the car, you're sitting maybe at about 10th or 11th and kind of looking at it going, hey, if I can just time this right and get an extra 4 seconds, 5 seconds a lap for 2 laps over someone ahead of me, I can go and jump 5-6 spots. And then it turns out you're wrong and you're not as good as you thought you were. and then you're out there on cold, slick tires on a wet track that's not ready for them yet. And that can be just as penalizing as it can be rewarding if you do get it right as the first car.
Yeah, it's a lot to play there. Risk reward system, I think, will make that better or worse. Sean Roberts, another individual who has not set a time yet. Another Aston Martin, I believe another GT4 AM driver. We're cruising along with Guy Rayner, I believe, not far behind. Taking a look through the order here, making sure we have only about 8 drivers who have not set a lap time. Excuse me, 9 drivers. And Gary
And
Yee.
it is a mixed up grid.
Mm-hmm.
Great time from Luke Plaisance, though, putting it in 8th overall in the AM class with a car between him and second place there from Brody Wallace. So I'm sure he's going to love to have a couple pros in between him and the next guy in his class.
I think that's very true, but with turn 1, I believe, being on lap 1 being Eau Rouge into Radeon, it'll probably be a very busy couple corners to make sure that he keeps that gap and those pro cars between him and Brody, as well as Marcus Osborne not too far behind them in terms of the running order. That's a evasive maneuver for Gary Yee as we have Chris Kraus rejoining onto the racing line. Maybe not the most safe. He is missing a wing. A couple other things, and he parks that car and brings it back to the garage to get that wing put back on. So 5 minutes left to qualifying, getting the last run in. What's the mindset you need to get into as a driver to really maximize on the rain?
You know, a lot of it with the rain is just patience, right? Not overdriving the car on the way in, not being too aggressive on the throttle on the way out either. Smooth as fast, right? And then as it starts to dry out, being the one who can find that dry line, being the one who's able to keep their tires in the right window, especially too. These wet tires, especially in the new tire model, it's a little bit better with the overheating, but you're just going to tear them apart if you get them too hot. So don't be surprised to see drivers searching for puddles to cool their tires down as we hit that transition, which may come only on lap 2 or 3, especially with 40 cars out there picking up all that spray. The dry line's going to form pretty fast, I think, once this race begins and the rain stops. So I think it's going to be really just patience from these first couple laps and get the tires up to temp, and then after that, protecting the tires until the right time to switch.
Definitely, I think, a game of strategy more than just outright pace. Do you think we're going to see a couple people gamble and try to take dry tires at the start?
Unfortunately, yes. I don't know how that's going to go for them. I think if the track weather conditions are kind of in that lightly wet state, there's on a lot of the overlays, you see the extremely wet, moderately wet, lightly wet, and then mostly dry, and then dry is typically what you see, or very lightly wet, and then mostly dry, and then dry. And if it's in that lightly wet, very lightly wet I wouldn't be shocked to see a couple people take the risk. If they do, they are going to have a fun first lap or so. But if they can stay within 30, 40 seconds of the leader there and save themselves that first pit stop on the transition, don't be surprised to see them really jump up the order after falling back early.
That I think is going to be, we'll have to see. We'll have to monitor who chooses dries. We have the option to see the tires here, at least on my end. I believe you may as well with that ATVO. So we'll have to see who decides to be the most risky and start on dries versus who takes that swap over early for the risk reward of the dry line on an otherwise wet track, and how that pans out for them. We'll have plenty of opportunity to take a look at that. We do have the option of competition caution. That percentage and that window opens 20 minutes in and closes at 20 minutes to go. Is that correct?
That is correct. So it's a random timer set from, I believe it's 20 to 400 minutes. So, right, it's not guaranteeing anything. If that timer doesn't go off by 20 minutes to go, it gets closed out. So it's completely at random, though. So it could come at a really inopportune time for some people, at a really great time for some people. But I have no control over it. The booth has no control over it. We are at the whims of RNG for that one.
Tony having to take avoiding action there as that Stellar Motorsports car, I believe that was the 705 of Kyle Urvet's, had to locked up its brakes. Tony Caicedo still trying to set a lap time in the closing stages here. I'm not sure he'll get one done with under 20 seconds to go.
Well, I believe with the open qualifying, he should be able to finish his lap that he's on. So as long as he keeps this clean, we should at least see him put up a lap time.
Fantastic.
He goes through Lake Combe there. I'm interested to see how he keeps it through this section of the track. So I took out the Porsche. I think I've talked about this on the broadcast already, that I just recently purchased the Porsche and I'm running it this weekend. And this was the part of the track that I found the trickiest for me in that car. It was loose. It was loose on entry and then understeery, and just it drives so differently. But Tony, a lot of experience in that car. So hopefully we see him keep on the track here and is able to post a time.
It looks like he was doing pretty well with it up until this point. Little shaky,
little wiggle.
Yeah, we saw it in No Name as well, or really coming out of the corner before No Name that I've lost its memory of. I can only keep so many in my head, I guess, at once. But that kind of shows, I think,
I certainly do not have that memorized either.
Certainly shows, I think, how much more forgiving the new tire model is for these cars. You have that little wiggle of oversteer. You can still catch it, I think, pretty easily by the looks of it, and get it back into at least underneath your feet, and it doesn't go sliding out from under you even further as you try to correct it.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely felt like the car, like you could back the car into the corner, which, traditionally before, if you got loose on entry, you were cooked on exit. Just a little bit too much heat in the rears, and your whole stint was pretty much ruined. So really nice to see the new tire model play well, and I'm sure in the rain, these guys are going to be very appreciative of being able to get away with a little bit more than traditionally you were able to.
We'll have to see where Tony comes across the line. I'm guessing it's going to be a lap towards the end. 24th overall, 15th in class. A lap time nonetheless that does put him above 5 GT3 AMs, which I don't know why that shows that.
I believe he did pip Nick Terrell there too. So
yes, which for some reason on my overlay says he's in the AM class. So that's been corrected. So we have transition now towards the end of qualifying. I think Nick Terrell, one of the few trying to set a final lap time. Alongside Marcus Osborne, Nate Sides, all still coming around for their final laps Nick Terrell, I think, like you said, looking to not be towards the back of the grid tonight. And we'll see where he posts that time and how far he moves up the order. Only 2 drivers ending without a time posted. Guy Rayner and Kevin Medina both not setting a qualifying time. I'll hope they start ahead of the GT4s, but I believe that was an off track for Nick Terrell, which will probably bring about an end to his lap. Maybe not, though. Let's see. Definitely looked very wide on Blanchimont.
See if this one counts. If it did count, he didn't improve.
I don't think it did. But let's see. Marcus Osborne through Blanchimont to round out a lap as well. Orange in most of these sectors, but hopefully a fantastic final run through the bus stop chicane here. Nope, he pulls it into pit lane to get a pit entry practice. I believe it's going to be a 2-stopper for terms of fuel this evening, or maybe a 1-stopper if the fuel margin opens up enough with the rain at the beginning. Is that a correct understanding?
It would take a heck of a save to make it a 1-stop. You're usually fueled for about 30 minutes. However, we might see up to 3, right? If they have to pit early to switch over to dries.
Mm-hmm.
If someone can make it on a 1-stop, that's going to be, they're going to probably need to go about 50 minutes in the wet here, and I just don't foresee the track staying dry or wet enough for long enough to really keep the fuel mileage up that far.
Let's see.
But what do I know? That's why I'm up in the booth.
Taking a look here at your starting order here. Nicholas Maynard putting up pole with a 235.787, half a second behind Justin Hall in the shut up and drive it machine. William Master alongside Dan Griffin on row 2. Row 3 is going to be Nate Sides alongside Andre Saba. Our 4th row is our first GT4 AM with Ian Baker alongside Luc Plaisance and Michael Doyen and Brody Wallace in row number 5. We'll set 6. Row number 6, however, is going to have Mitch Bonaventura and Jesse Olson, which are your top 12. We're moving down the order here. Marcus Osborne alongside Landon Height, not Landon Orr. Kelvin Collado, Mauricio Marquez Ramos are in row number 8. Yep, 8. There we go. Richard Costanza and Patrick Cantrell in 17th, 18th. Row number 9. Row 10, Chris Kraus, Joshua Harless, and Khalil McIntyre and Matt Markley in row 11. I can do my math. Wesley Waddell, Tony Caicedo in row number 12. 24 out of the total of 31 GT3 cars on the grid. Nick Terrell alongside Landon Orr. I believe. I have that correctly. No, not quite. Excuse me. Charles Rotes alongside Chris Wells, Adam Dahl, Kevin Medina, Guy Rayner round out your 31 GT3s. Kevin, you want to go through the GT4s for us?
I will. We're going to start with Tyler Roberts there on pole position, sharing that front row of the grid with Devin Adams, followed by Jaden Rosard and Joe Evers in the second row. Sean Harvey and Gary Lee, I think we decided it was Yee last week, hasn't been corrected yet, taking up row 3. Kyle Orvex and Jordan Y in row 4, with Jordan Oliver right behind him and Sean Roberts in row 5. Solomon Landauer is the lone car at the very back of the grid, car 42 to start this race. We'll see what he can do from there in the lone 6th row position in the GT4 class.
I believe he's starting from pit lane. Well, what is happening here? Well, I thought we had...
Is he?
Yeah.
He is starting from the pit lane. You were 100% correct.
My overlay has decided it wants to just show the...
I see that. It is cutting to the replay screen.
Cut to the replay screen, and it's not leaving the replay screen. Why? Who knows? Do I got to restart you? Are you choosing to be like this?
You got a little extra time. We are going to go for the endurance start-finish, which, if I'm not mistaken, is after La Source. So a little bit of a delayed green here.
All right.
Um,
Let's do this. I'll turn this off for a minute. You'll at least see the overlay or the race as it is. I'll restart my live timing because apparently that's the thing it wants to do today.
I believe you're looking at the GT4s right now.
Yep.
Here's the GT3 field.
Working our way up the field. Oh, there's the space car. Pace car is in. We are away. There we go.
Should be a little extra minute until we go green.
Yep.
I know everyone's itching to go. Everyone wants to just hammer the throttle there.
I also have the opportunity. I'm going to leave it in the GT3, GT4 format for the moment, just to get through the first couple corners as all the GT3s are bunched up through La Source under pacing speed. There we go.
And there's the green.
There it is. They are off down into Eau Rouge Radion. It's going to be a bit of a slower one. Still, I believe, a little bit of standing water. Nicholas Maynard gets a great launch, followed by the rest of the field, working their way through. So far, everyone seems to have survived. Leslie Waddell blinking a little bit. The rest of the GT3 field working great. Devin Adams, head of GT4, getting a good launch over Tyler Roberts. All making their way up.
Ooh, that's going to be a slowdown for Devin.
Mm-hmm. Back at the front of the GT3 field, Luc Plaisance, I believe, off at the second corner of Lake Holm. He's kept that car out of the wall. Went off track here. Let's see if I can do this real quick. Just I want to. Nope, he just backed up. All right, we'll worry about that here more in a second. Take a look here. He's gotten that car going again, just in front of the GT4's leader. Still holding on, having a great 2-second head gap to Justin Hall, who's defending from Dan Griffin right behind him. As well as Wim Laster, Nate Sides further on back. Once again, that front engine machinery at the front of the field. Late braking from Dan Griffin.
Oh.
Slide there. Keeps it out of the corner of Justin Hall, but doesn't, in fact, get the position done. Brody Wallace in the background there also spun. Looks like he kept it out of the barrier as well. Let's see what else is going on here.
It is incredible how nobody collected Brody Wallace there.
Yeah, let's take a quick look at that.
I cut back to him.
Yeah, well, when we get around,
he was sliding across the field.
When we get back to the top of the lap, we'll take a look back at that because it looks like it was pretty close based on what I saw on the relatives. GT4 field, however, Tyler Roberts taking the position back from Devin Adams due to that slowdown, kind of running off with it. Joe Evers in fourth, up one position. Most of them, I believe Sean Harvey has had a bit of an off. As Sean Harvey, Jordan Yokobonis, Jordan Y, as well as Jordan Oliver. Sean is a sandwich in between two Jordans. And a crash for Mitch Buenaventura, which he seemed to have gotten righted if it wasn't anything too serious, but that has dropped him down the order. Tony Caicedo right behind Mitch Buenaventura on the outside, going into La Source. Too wide. Mitch has the track position. Tony has the speed. We'll see who plays out here. The classic fight for these two as they go down into Eau Rouge. Neither wanting to lift. They're going to push it too wide.
We're going to do it. They both made it. Wow. Wow.
An off track for Mitch, but otherwise clean racing for the two of them. Let's take a quick look. Landon Orr also listed as having a crash. That is him in the background there. He's got that car going the right direction as well. Take a look back through a couple of these that we saw a little moment ago. Brody Wallace in that spin there. Just loses it on the outside of Puan here. Kevin, you were saying it was...
And just watch this.
Oh my gosh.
I don't understand how he didn't collect 3 or 4 cars there with him.
Fantastic.
So great job by everybody avoiding that one, because that was
Whoa.
sketchy to say the least. Who saved that?
Yeah, I was trying to figure out who is that behind him. Let's see where this Jesse Olsen on the inside there. Mitch gets it. This got labeled as a crash, but I don't think Mitch actually crashed. He just came to a pretty quick halt. But I do want to see, if I can, who is in the background there.
Oh, that was Mitch. Was it?
No.
Mitch is up in front.
Yeah. Marcus Osborne.
Who is
Landon
in that
Height
green Porsche?
is that the driver there.
I want to see an onboard from that one.
Let's see if I can
'Cause that
go back.
that was an incredible save. That Porsche wanted to do anything but go straight.
Let's see here. We ride along board.
Oh, wow. Just full 180-degree opposite lock.
Opposite lock kept that car from getting too far away. Lost the position to Marcus Osborne. And last but certainly not least, Landon Orr. I think we saw this one early on. I think we're missing a bunch of other interesting things as we're going through some of these. A couple people have jumped to the pits. Landon Orr just spinning it here. Keeps it kind of out of the barrier. Not quite, but how we look here. Jaden Rissard in that Outlander McLaren. This is back down the source. Lap number 2 for these drivers as well. He just got onto the inside curbing, slides it up and out, bounces it off of the tire barrier. I think that car will be a little bit crunched, but not too bad.
There were all the GT4s were spinning there. I think Joe Evers spun at the same spot, and then Sean Roberts had a spin as Jaden was getting going.
Yeah, there's Sean Roberts. Let's see if Joe, so many GT4s caught out on the second lap. He made it up to here and then got loose on that curbing and had just the slowest of spins. Barely touched it. And then he jumps to the pits, I believe, from here. Mauricio Macrez Ramos already crashed at this point. Let's see if I can get the off track here. That I think is actually what happened. Nope, that's earlier on. He's off track. He just gets labeled as off track throughout all of this. Let's see if this is the one that does it. Nope. What happened?
There is a whole lot of red on my session event screen right now. And
Yeah.
I've been going through it, and it is just people losing the rear everywhere as they start to get comfortable and try to push, and the track is just not giving them the conditions that they think that they have out there.
Yeah, Brody Wallace also getting caught out by the curbing. That time makes contact with the barriers.
Oh, big hit.
But doesn't
Big
catch anybody
hit.
else up twice now. Has like a aura of protection. Jaden Rissard spun earlier, coming into the braking zone for the bus stop. I think he maybe is just labeled as a crash, but it's really not one. Nope, he comes in the pit lane to get that car repaired. Kyle Orbitz, or Landon Height, excuse me. This time, less successful in Puhan than he was at Blanchimont the lap prior, but keeps it out of the barrier. Oh, that is a nasty hit from Kyle Orbitz. Let's see if we can back that up and get a little bit better idea of what happened there. He's already missing a wing, I believe, at this point. Yeah. I'll just lose it. And bang. Whoa. Solomon Landauer. All right.
We can't even catch up all the spins. Brody
Yeah.
Wallace was having an absolute mare getting back to the pits. He had another spin in Puan as he's trying to drag that Mustang back. But
Seto having an off here. Otherwise doing well. Joe Evers out of pit lane after jumping to the box for repairs. Nicholas Maynard still heads the field. Dan Griffin getting around Justin Hall in the top there. We gave it a lap, and I feel like we should have given it more than a lap now that I'm reflecting, but we just had nothing but crashes happen. The field very spread out as a result of all of these spins and stuff like that. Joe Evers in the background there, leaving pit lane. Finally, got out of his box about, I feel like 20 minutes ago, but endurance pits are very long here at Spa. There we go, words. Ian Baker crunched rear end there. Nate Sides right behind him. Not the culprit as he still has his front bumper on. Mitch Buenaventura trying to get back into the fight with Jesse Olsen. Marcus Osborne behind him. Kelvin Collado and Tony Caicedo going too wide into Lake Holm. And Patrick Cantrell and Joshua Harless right behind them doing this almost the same thing, but Joshua Harless, I should say, lifts to let that get that pass done without problem. Tony Caicedo getting her back around Kelvin Collado. Back up the order. Track looks like it's no longer raining.
It is now officially lightly wet, no longer moderately wet. So that usually means that we'll start to see a dry line starting to form. In the next couple laps or so, these cars continue to...
That is a pair of Jordans, Oliver and Yokobonis, getting into each other in La Source. I jumped in because I saw the things being close to them, but it's just a hit there, and then they both park it. Was there contact prior? Or?
I think Jordan Y got a little wide and got really squirrely on the exit, and Jordan Oliver tried to tuck in underneath him and just couldn't get under him as Jordan Yokobonis tried to get the car back under control.
Gotcha. Solomon Landauer not having the best of days in GT4 AM. Labeled as crashed here, but I think he just slows down to not go spinning off in the tire barrier. And then sort of figures out where he's going. Gets that car going again. Let's see, and then he is labeled as crashed again. No, that's just all the same incident. So, with that, looking back at the top of the order, Nicholas Maynard losing ground about half a second lap slower than Dan Griffin right behind him. Is my trading paint's not working? Because Dan's paint usually is a nice dark...
Nope, I have him in like the Multimatic paint this week.
The red, white, and blue Multimatic?
The red, white, and blue Multimatic, or is that the Proton Mustang paint from Le Mans? The special paint they ran. I'm not sure. But yes, the official Mustang paint. He's not in that sleek black Mustang anymore.
All right. And he takes that lead from Nicholas Maynard as we're talking about it. Just laid on the brakes, having a really good time. That car definitely doing him some justice here. Now Nicholas Maynard is trying to figure out how to get back around, I would assume. Both of them 4 seconds clear of Justin Hall. William LeMaster 2 seconds behind him. Andre Saba rounding out your top 5. Another 2 seconds back behind LeMaster. GT4 Pro, Tyler Roberts bookends one end of the GT4 class. Joe Evers at the other end. GT4 AM has all the cars in between. Gary Yee leading that class off behind with Devin Adams, I believe 13 seconds behind. Although, as I speak about him, I think we might have given a little bit of commentator's curse. Labeled, so maybe not. It just labels him as crashed, which I think is just he slowed down to not die in the bus stop. I guess he did technically have an off here.
He went a little wide.
All right. But he is actually fine. So
I would like to give credit where credit is due for someone who I have an ongoing broadcaster's beef with.
Okay.
Marcus Osborne is leading the GT3 AMs right now. So it's not a commentator's curse if I just talk about how well he's doing, correct?
I don't think so, unless he stops doing well as you're talking about him. I did just watch Dan Griffin
the last 2 laps
do a Tokyo drift through the end of Curve Paul Frere going into Blanchimont, trying to keep that car in front of Nicholas Maynard, giving it a lot of push. There's more of a slide there. Gets that car pointed back the right direction. Justin Hall now arriving on scene with Jaden Broussard in the middle of all that. I pull out my relative here. I pull out the battles box.
You know, and I'm curious with Dan Griffin being as fast as he was there. After struggling a little bit early on in the wet, he was slower than Nick Maynard. I'm curious if Dan is running more of a dry setup, and as this track continues to dry, that Mustang will continue to maybe stretch its legs over the BMW of Nicholas Maynard.
I get the feeling, based on the lap times, assuming he doesn't have another spin like he did, it's very likely that he'll both, maybe him and Justin Hall, both have more dry-based setups. We'll be able to get more speed there. Speaking about
we're
Marcus
still
Osborne.
probably 8 or 9 seconds a lap off of the crossover.
Gotcha.
But
Crossover
as
is
you
about-
know, sometimes that comes up very quickly and rapidly as the track dries. All of a sudden, you run a lap 2 seconds quicker, and then the next lap's 2 seconds quicker, and in 3 laps, you're at that crossover period after being 10 seconds away from it.
That was a few cars having a moment. This is Guy Rayner, who got listed past Adam Dahl. Adam Dahl listed as crashed. He slides along the inside, shoots back out in front of another Saudi. I believe that was Kevin Medina. Right there. Yep, it was. Gets that car going in the right direction. That is a wild... Let's say Chris... No. Mauricio Marquez Ramos? Nope. Maybe it is. Let me see. Then on the brakes here. Different corner, though. No, that's just the pulling to pit lane, I think, after whatever happened earlier. Our events timer ticker is just full of things. So, 15 minutes elapsed. 15 to go. Talking about Marcus Osborne. Currently hounding Mitch Bonaventura for overall P10. He's going around the outside to get it done. Too wide. A little bumping. But both still going the same direction. Mitch is desperately hanging on to that P10 place. And Marcus is trying to find a way around. So Jocelyn Osborne earlier, as the race got under qualifying, got wrapped up, went into the chat, said was hoping for a better night for him tonight than last week was. So far, I would say late on the brakes here into the bus stop. He's having a heck of a night trying to keep Mitch Bonaventura, get around Mitch Bonaventura, who's doing everything he can to keep that cow-liveried Mustang behind him. Too wide through the bus stop.
Of course, with all that has just allowed Tony to get right on the rear of both of them, and we know that Tony will not wait around. Oh, and he goes and makes the move right now. He's just saying, I'm coming through.
Marcus says, I'm going to fight you for it. And in the middle of all that, Tony's teammate, Jaden Rissard, getting out of the way of this three-way battle for P10 overall. Let's see here. I'll break this out into the prospective classes here. You'll see Marcus Osborne at the lead of GT3 AM. Having a great run here. Mauricio Marquez Ramos rejoining in the middle of all that.
Tony really wanted to put that 3 wide there.
Oh, I mean, Tony will put it 3 wide anywhere he can. So it is a staple of Tony's driving. If gap car personified. Marcus giving him plenty of space. Tony trying to get around the two of them. Pushing it 2 wide once again.
Oh, it's just great racing, isn't it?
It absolutely is. Definitely gets the blood flowing, if nothing else. Kicking up a little bit of gravel there, Tony does on the outside of No Name. Coming into Pouon. Finally gets that car around Marcus Osborne. And we'll try to get back up to Mitch Bonaventura. Mitch Bonaventura and Tony Caicedo. Long-standing history between the two of them. And we kind of called it to a lesser degree. But the gap really hasn't closed a whole ton for Dan Griffin. Back to Nicholas Maynard. He is still running faster lap times, 235.64 over 236.52. And our leader in GT4 AM, once again listed as crashed. I'm curious if this is another pit stop, or not pit stop, bus stop braking moment. It looks like it is. So he is, I think, a little late on the brakes here. Runs it wide once again, becoming a habit of his. But, keeps it out of the barrier. Gets that car going back the right direction. This battle for second now involving 3 cars. William Master arriving on scene behind Justin Hall and Dan Griffin. Jordan Yokobonis, Tony Caicedo listed as crashed, though he seems to be doing just fine. Nick Terrell, Patrick Cantrell also listed as crashed. Whole bunch hopping on here. Let's see. Too wide coming out of Blanchimont alongside, I believe. That's a third driver there. Patrick Cantrell goes for the inside. I can't tell if he gets pit turned here. He does get pit turned there. And gets away with it. Luc Plaisance is the other red BMW in all this. We'll see if I can get on board with him. What he sees of all this. See Nick Terrell on the right-hand side just taps that rear quarter panel of Patrick Cantrell. And then Luc Plaisance loses time trying to get that car going back the right direction. Rough break.
Yeah. I can't tell if Patrick thought he was clear or if that was Nick putting his nose somewhere he shouldn't have. That may have just epitomized a racing incident there, especially here in the wet.
Certainly. I wonder if he also misjudged maybe the braking a little bit in the wet and traveled a little bit further than I think he meant to. And that's how he ended up where he was.
Oh, Tony Caicedo's around.
Oh, Tony. He is around.
Right in front of Marcus Osborne,
Yeah.
and I think Sean Roberts got into him there.
Going through right before No Name. Loses it there. Sean Roberts ever so lightly bumps him. Joshua Harless getting around both of them by running wide, opening up that steering. They both get underway. Luc Plaisance has to take evasive action, though, to not rear end Tony. He's able to do it. Well, he's lost a few places as he runs wide again just now. They get those cars moving back the right direction. And he is still up 6 positions. Or 5 now, as Richard Costanza makes his way by. But a rougher evening for him than I think he would have liked. Jesse Olsen, Mitch Benaventura still taking that fight to each of them. I want to see what it's like driving through Blanchimont in that Porsche in the rain. Do you have to... I know you have to lift for the Porsche in the rain. Is it as much as it is in the Ferrari in the wet? Or maybe some of the front engine cars?
I can't tell you about the front engine cars. I stay as far away from those as I can.
Fair enough.
But the Porsche, I think all the GT3 cars in the rain are a little bit of a wet for different reasons. The Porsche, the rear wants to come around. On some cars, they just understeer off the track. It's definitely hairy. Obviously, you're trying to carry as much speed as you can through there, because you can make up quite a bit of time if you're brave. But if you're a little too brave, you'll lose your whole race. So I think we've talked about it quite a few times tonight. The risk reward of certain spots of this track during this drying period is going to be huge for making up some time.
Still looks like a lot of spray coming out of these cars. We're still riding along with Mitch Benaventura that we hopped into at the start of this lap. And I'm really braking early there. I wonder if that's just the braking line. He seems to be... good set of fast hands there to catch that.
Yeah, with all this action, we're still only 23 minutes into this race. It's still a long way to go for these drivers. So
the competition caution.
A lot of people pushing really hard, really early.
Yeah. I want to see Tony. His label has crashed. I think he just entered the pit lane here, and because of the speed differential between what it considers the normal speed versus the slow speed, it's just him entering pit lane. Tony into the pits to get that car put back together. Battles on track.
Here's what we can check. Is Tony going to be the first one onto the dry tires? Let me zoom in on his tires really quick.
My timing tower says that he is now on dries. And he was on wets earlier.
Can confirm.
Okay.
Looking at this race car, those tires do not have tread on them.
I had
well, that is certainly a choice at this point from Tony.
Yeah, you can see it here on this onboard. If you look at real closely at the tire, you'll see that it has no tread floating through that on the bottom of that car. A Definitely an interesting choice. You see how much he'll have to work that tire, both to get it up into temperature as well as keep that car going the right direction. See if he gets through the corner that he spun at last lap successfully. See how much time he also loses with this new tire. Jaden Rissard also labeled as crashed here going into the bus stop. I'm super curious if it's just once again the bus stop doing bus stop things for wet weather. Yep, just brings it to a nice steady halt to not run it wide.
I'll say Tony is not the only one on dries now. It does look like Chris Kraus is also on dry tires, as is Mauricio Marquez Ramos. So, gonna keep an eye on their lap times. They could be an early indicator as to if it's time. I still think it's a little early, but someone's got to be first, right?
Certainly. And I say, especially if some of those drivers who have a little bit of damage on there are working their way to get that damage taken care of, might as well get the tire change done already. Now, if I'm correct, the competition caution window has been open for about 5 minutes now, and it will continue to be open until we have 20 to go, if that's correct.
That is correct. So I am keeping an eye on that timer. I don't get to see how much time is left on the timer. It's purely random. I just see a white bar on a screen that dances around and will randomly chime if it decides to go off during the time that it's set. So it is a true random, up to the racing gods.
We'll see if the racing gods determine that we are in need of a safety car. That's what I was looking for. Patrick Cantrell also swapping over to the dries, according to my timing tower. In pit lane, getting that fuel put in as well.
And it's a few minutes early to make it a 2-stop. So these guys are going to have to save a little bit over these next couple stints. If they want to make it on one more stop, you want to make it probably to about 30 minutes to go before you come in for your last stop.
About 30 left to go for that last stop. I think we'll have a bunch of people coming in for a splash and dash at the end. These two, Justin Hall, Dan Griffin, battling it out for second overall. 5 seconds between them and P1. While the lap times they've set are a little faster, overall, Nicholas Maynard having the consistency to pull away and set the tone for the race. Neil McIntyre, I think, also breaking a little early there. Matt Markley, into pit lane, I think, as well, for a swap to dry tires. Lap traffic coming into play here for them. Patrick Cantrell, Tyler Roberts, both in battling for overall position. Tyler Roberts hasn't pit yet. Patrick Cantrell had a spin earlier and then boxed for dries, which is taking him really wide.
You can tell if he was on his way out there and just decided to get out of the way or not there. He may have just seen the two Mustangs coming behind him and said, I'm not going to be involved here.
I think that is probably at least partially what happened for them. For Patrick, as part of his decision making, he's like, I'll just run wide and then I won't have to worry about it. So the gap between them was at a 1 second few laps ago, about 5 laps ago to be specific, if you want to look at the time delta box that we have floating around. And we'll see if that trend, you see, gap was favoring Dan Griffin, Justin Hall, but now it seems to be favoring Dan Griffin. Kyle Oravets labeled as crashed. I don't see him falling down the order, but it's very possible.
I don't see anyone in the pit lane. So, well, there's a couple in the pit lane getting repairs, but I don't see anyone stopping for a quick stop right now. So if someone's tumbling, that's not a great day at the moment.
Yeah. Having a better day so far is going to be Michael Doyen, up a position overall. Still 8th in class. As he sees Ian Baker dive into pit lane. Keeps that car going the right direction. That battle comes to a little bit of an end. Nick Terrell trying to chase down Kelvin Collado. Two of them still on wets. One of the many drivers there. Marcus Osborne labeled as crashed as well, but it's all of them. A lot of cars diving to pit lane. I wonder if it's the fuel stint plan for them to bring him in, as we are at 29 minutes till the end of the race. Or sorry, 29 minutes into the race. An hour and 1 minute yet to go.
And I will say track temperatures come up about 4 degrees in the past 2 laps. So it is about to hit that drying rapidly phase. So lap times are down to 2:34s, 2:35s for most of the field after being closer to 2:38s, 39s. So we're starting to kind of hit that window of right on time for the guys coming in to take their pit stop to be aggressive and get on the dries, which cold tires on this track coming off line is going to be a little hairy, especially going through the multi-class traffic. But it's definitely going to be a fun next couple of laps as these tires go up to temperature.
As they do, I was taking a look outside the rear wing of Nick Terrell here, just trying to see how much spray is on these cars, as well as looking out the kind of off the hood cam, pointed forward towards Luc Plaisance right in front of him. And not a whole lot of spray on the racing line. So I think, as you say, definitely the proper time for them to come in to do the tire swap over to dries. We have a bunch of cars doing that. We see all of them in the pit stop. Calvin Collado still in as well. Landon Orr in to get dry tires. A lot of the front of the field still on wets. Your top 5, basically all the drivers down to P18 are all on wet tires. Ian Baker, your first driver on dry tires. We'll see how well that works out for him. Couple spaces, I still see a little bit of the spray coming up. And Tony Caicedo setting the new fastest lap at a 2:28.02. Our leaders, not our leaders, sorry, everybody except for our leader is in. P2, P3, P4, P5, all diving into the pit lane here. See Dan Griffin and Justin Hall, as well as William Master, Andre Saba, Nate Sides. I think we're going to see a rest of these drivers all come in. Michael Doyen, and we're going to see, I think, all the front runners here in GT3, both Pro and Am, make their way up to the pit box to pop on dries. Tony Caicedo, like you said, being that kind of early adapter, showing that the pace is now there in the dry tires once you get them up to temperature.
And it is a... Hold on, I just heard William the Master ran out of gas on pit road. I believe he's getting pushed down the hill right now into his pit box. That was a great call over the radio. In this endurance layout, it gets really tight there as you come down that second pit lane. And William the Master called out, "Hey man, if you want to get by, you better give me a push because I am not going anywhere in a hurry right now."
Let's see if I can spot this bump. Yeah,
he's not on his own power at the moment, and I think
he putters out of gas
behind him
right there. Andre Saba is right behind him, and he does manage to use gravity at this point because this is downhill, not a flat and level place for it. So he's free and clear. Bit of a longer stop for him as he had to get to his box without full power. And Joshua Harless, Luc Plaisance, Rich Costanza, the rest of the field of GT3 drivers coming in to take that swap over. Jordan Yokobonis also coming in, I think, to do that as well. And the field fairly spread out. Mitch Benaventura, Marcus Osborne. Marcus Osborne really having a very good pit lane with a 1:20.83 pit lane time. 22 seconds on the box versus Mitch Benaventura's 21 seconds. But Mitch Benaventura has a whole 2 seconds more pit lane time than Marcus Osborne. So he got out ahead of him, but then is in the wall Oh, no, sorry, not in the wall, but has spun. Keeps that out of the wall, thankfully. Tony Caicedo setting a new fastest lap, 2:26.44. The leader, Nicholas Maynard, into pit lane. Nick Terrell, the only one yet to pit for dries off of the front runners.
And I'm just going to say right now, it wouldn't even surprise me to see Nick go 14 laps here. He is the fuel save king of this league, and if he's going to do something crazy tonight, this might be him attempting it. So we'll see if he even pits here.
Have to see. He's probably going to be beginning to lose a fair amount of time. Still running 234s, and no heat comes in.
There he goes.
To get dries as well. Dry tires, definitely the name of the game. Mitch Buenaventura on wets again. Yeah, those are wet tires. You can see that blue rim if you look at the non-blue rim of Tony Caicedo's dry tire. As they're going around. So Mitch Buenaventura not succeeding at getting wet tires put on. So the question is, does he box early to put on dries, or does he stick it out and see how much time he loses?
I believe Luke Plaisance may have had an issue leaving pit lane, and he spun coming out of pit lane, and he's going to have to serve a drive-through for an unsafe pit. That's just kicking a man while he's down. He's already spun the car and gets the unsafe pit exit penalty. And he almost takes out Matt Markley with him. Matt Markley is lucky to be alive after that.
Let's see if I can find the off track. I see the spot. Oh my gosh. All right. This is the part that he's serving the drive-through for. Gets on power, I think just too much here. Spins, slides across the very wet paint. Matt Markley just using heads-up driving. Just keeps that car moving the right direction. Good heads-up awareness from everyone. Luke Plaisance coming down the very long pit lane. The drive-through penalty here is pretty significant. Not one I think anybody would want to take.
It is. Avoid it. It is a brutal, brutal drive-through penalty here on the endurance layout. I think it's a close to a 30-second penalty, all things considered, as you come down the pit lane. I believe the pit lane speed limit here is 45 miles an hour, and you have to do that for about a kilometer. It feels like when you're driving down it. So,
according to what I have on my screen, 57 seconds of pit lane travel for Luke Plaisance.
Yeah, and those are two of the. I mean, if you don't count La Source, I mean, those are two flat-out sections of the track too. So, it's a absolute killer.
So he is
that is unfortunate for him.
Back in ninth, Joshua Harless, which I don't know why this is flipped, because it should be the other way around. Oh well. For some reason, GT3 Pro wanting to be below GT3 AM. Couldn't tell you why, but now it's fixed itself. Dan Griffin taking over the lead of this race. Nicholas Maynard, I think, had a bit of an issue. Still is having that issue. What happened here?
Nicholas Maynard.
Yeah, labeled as
he's got
crash.
to take his fast repair. He has a busted up left rear tire.
Here, let's take a look.
Oh,
he slams that wall. I'm gonna rewind it and see if I can get it back in like a little bit of a slower time, because it comes up quick because it's where he gets the off track. So he just loses in Blanchimont with those cold tires, keeps the throttle pinned, or at least is trying to get it going by the right direction, but doesn't get it swinging back before it hits the wall. And so he is back in to get that car fixed up, as it now doesn't want to drive straight from that back left there. You can see how much it is not pointing the right direction that the other rear tire is. That is a rough break there for Nicholas Maynard, but he does get to use the fast prepare. Keep that car going. Mitch Buenaventura back in as well, I believe, to get some dry tires on. Landon Orr has been labeled as crashed. Is that also real, or is that more Blanchimont nonsense? Or yep, that's Blanchimont getting on the curb in the wet, just hits that rear end square into that hole. Another
Porsche doing Porsche things there, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Or I believe hopping into the pit lane, much like Nicholas Maynard. Kyle Orbetz in the GT4 class, trying to get into it. Almost runs into Charles Rotes there. Ends up offline, but otherwise doesn't crash it. He, as far as I can tell, keeps it going the right direction. Charles Rotes, not much longer, gets labeled as crashed as well, though I think this is the same incident. Yeah, I think
may just grazed him.
Yeah, just the speed difference labels him as crashed. Luc Plaisance in pit lane. I think that's for his drive-through penalty. Joe Evers entering pit lane. I believe that's for a actual pit stop, which let's see if we hop to him now. See him there in his pit box. All right. Well, Dan Griffin, 12 seconds ahead of Justin Hall. I think that is just due to fantastic pace. Did Justin Hall have any spin that I missed?
Nope, it was nothing. Dan Griffin gained quite a bit of time through the pit stop cycle. He had actually closed in a little bit on Nick Maynard before Maynard had his incident. There is something I do want to call out. There are still 3 drivers on track on wet tires. You have Chris Wells, Gary Yee, and Solomon Landauer. Don't know what their strategists see that the rest of us aren't. But they're about to have some very, very hot tires. Actually, I think Chris Wells just switched off of them. Yeah, so I have a feeling they are in for... They're going to pay for that one a little bit.
I get the feeling as well. But Gary Yee still has 7 seconds to Devin Adams. But looking at the lap times, 2:36 is the benchmark Tyler Roberts set for GT4 as he almost bumps into Charles Rotes. So we'll see how far Gary Yee is off that benchmark, and with those wet tires and how fast Devin Adams is, you can kind of see he's lost about a second just in the time that we talked about it. So I think Gary Yee is going to be hurting a fair bit. So Landon Orr still in pit lane. I wonder if he's getting that manually repaired. Did he already take his fast repair?
He didn't have the box checked. That could be an issue.
Could be. Oh, Landon's in focus. We won't pull him out of focus. Jane Rissard catching up to Sean Roberts. We haven't talked much about GT4 battles. That group has been pretty spread out overall. But this is a battle for P4 in class. Sean Roberts, let's see if we can hop on the gearbox. You see where that McLaren is behind him in that Aston Martin 333 versus the 303. Battle of the 300s, I suppose. And that is a off-track, I believe, lapped Kyle Orbetz. Pretty, I think, rough race for him. Nate Sides in the background there, I believe, trying to get through lap traffic. Jaden has the run here. Sean Roberts giving him plenty of space, run offline into the wet. And there's a Nate Sides coming on scene, trying not to hit them. He ends up sticking behind Jaden to get through all of this. All too wide. Sean Roberts has a
gotta go on the wet stuff. That's not where you want to be.
And that's William LeMaster. Does William LeMaster have a spin? Figure out how Nate Sides got around him. Oh, sorry. William LeMaster just had a very slow pit stop. I forgot about that. The 31 seconds versus the 22 of Nate Sides is how that happened.
Yeah, I'm curious if William had a little bit of damage that he just wanted to get fixed and just took the 8 seconds in case he has an issue later on. Yep. He also was the one who ran out of fuel coming down pit lane, so he may have lost. So he had a minute 30 total pit lane on top of 8 seconds slower stop time, but that only accounts for about half his deficit in the pit lane. So
Ooh, back to two wide. Oh, gets it hard on the brakes there. Gets it stopped. Jaden now back behind them. Two of them swapping positions. Jesse Olsen heavy on the brakes. Getting around those two. One at a time. Tony Caicedo still on a tear trying to catch up to these drivers. Passing his teammate. Jordan Yokobonis labeled as crashed once more.
Ooh. He got into the wall on the exit of Puan.
Let's see. Let's take a look here. Exit of Puan into...
Oh, I'm wrong. That is not Puan. That is the... Oh, don't make me forget the corner names like this. The fast S's. Oh, goodness.
Oh,
I'm drawing a blank.
I believe that's... then backs it in.
Yeah.
Loses the bumper. He jumps to pits. Tony Caicedo, Sean Roberts, Jaden Rosard, and Tony Caicedo again. I believe this is all just breaking in the bus stop. They're still labeled as crashes. Oh, nope. There is a spin there. Okay, there is a spin. And then he just drives in front of his teammate to get that car pointed back the right direction.
That is the second time tonight that
right
Tony
in front
has
of Josh
spun.
Harless.
Oh, Tony. That is the second time tonight he has spun right in front of Sean Roberts, who has just been caught in two inopportune moments.
This battle between them still going on. Jump. Oh, late on the brakes for Jaden Rosard. Sean Roberts, I think, trying to get for the under and over. But I don't think it's to be, at least not at this moment. So those two keep duking it out. Hop back up. Let's see. Chris Kraus, Adam Dahl. Nope, excuse me. Chris Kraus and Nicholas Maynard in a battle as Chris Kraus dives into pit lane. Is that for a scheduled pit stop or an incident point?
He does not have a black lag. Dave's a black flag. I am curious why Chris has decided to come in again. Is Chris in the party chat?
I think I see.
Nope.
No, he's in the focus chat. So
there was apparently a massive incident with Landon
Marcus
Height
Osborne has been bumped. What happened? there?
Drivers reporting 2 cars were airborne, including Landon Orr. I would go back and watch that.
I will. I just wanted to look back at what we just saw on the broadcast of Matt Markley and Marcus Osborne getting into it. Unfortunately.
Oh my
nose
goodness.
up there.
We might need to roll the hearse.
Landon Orr has been labeled as crashed. That is not the start of this. Let's keep going back. All right. Landon Orr. Chris Kraus. He gets loose in Radion. Bounces off there. Comes back across. Gets the car going again.
Just wait.
Okay. Keep it playing. He gets it pointed the right direction in the wrong spot. That's Joe Evers that got bounced off of there. Is he...
Keep waiting. It gets better.
There is a parked Landon Orr. What camera can I use? Dynamic cam. Oh my god.
Oh, the epitome of wait for it. Wait for it.
Let me just.
I want to watch that from the onboard of the other Porsche because that must have been a ungodly jump scare coming through Radion.
Let's do this. Landon Height, who also got labeled as crashed here, and the onboard. Here's the roll bar cam.
Can we run this full speed after this? Because this is incredible.
Here, I'll just.
And right about here, he knows he's in trouble.
Well, yeah, because he keeps putting in steering input, but it's not going anywhere.
Oh my goodness.
All right. And once more at full speed.
I just want to count the time he can see the car. So he's understeering already, and it's 1/1000. I mean, you
Yeah.
can't do anything.
No.
That is
Oh.
one of the most spectacular crashes I have seen at this racetrack.
Jesse Olsen labeled as crashed as well. Nicholas Maynard setting the fastest lap of the race this time by with a 2:18.42. Still on that recovery drive after the incident. Dan Griffin, Justin Hall, Ian Baker. 3 Mustangs all at the front of this field. All by Andre Saba, 5 seconds behind them. The Ford Mustang still, Andre Saba labeled as crashed. What happened to him?
I do see him falling through the field.
All right, let's see what happened here. This is,
Oh, he's reset to the pit lane.
Oh no. Okay, we'll see what he got. He gets in here, keeps going the right way, and then parks it and disappears. Wonder if he had network issues. And the car seems to sidle forward. And I think he's just dealing with network issues, unfortunately. Nate Sides.
I was going to say, what club is Andre Saba? Is he the other Texas resident? Because we are dealing with some thunderstorms right now. I just heard a big smack of thunder outside my window, and my whole screen blinked when that happened. So I am curious if maybe he might be closer to me than I thought. Because it's uncanny how close that timing was to me hearing thunder and him disconnecting.
Landon Height, Landon Orr, Jordan Yokobonis all in the pit lane. Kelvin Collado getting real close to Marcus Osborne there. Not a battle for position in class, battle for overall position. We hop over to that GT3, GT4 combined classes. Battle for 10th overall. And Nick Terrell just behind them, up 13 spots. Kevin Medina just behind him, up 17 overall spots. So still fantastic driving from these individuals. Nate Sides setting the fastest lap. That 2:18.05. Joshua Harless into pit lane. Too wide for Calvin Collado, Marcus Osborne. All right, coming up on 52 minutes, excuse me. Another 20 minutes of that racing, that competition caution or safety car window before it closes.
I will say, I think I just heard Tony Caicedo call over the radio. He's coming into pit. I mean, he was our first to pit for dries, so he's going to have to take a splash at the end.
Mm-hmm.
Don't think anyone's going to make it 38 minutes on a single tank with these half-size tanks that we run here in OMEC. So most cars only about 13 to 14 gallons on these endurance
I would also
weekends.
have to say, probably not Tony Caicedo.
I wouldn't call him the fuel saver of the group. He is if there's an option and it's going to be close on strategy between a 3-stop and burning all the rubber or a 2-stop and fuel saving, he's going to pull the 3-stop every single time.
Andre Saba's Quest 3 crashed, and that's why he came to a stop there. So technical difficulties, crashing, causing Andre Saba.
It's not every day that you can blame Mark Zuckerberg for your problems, but at least in this situation, Andre has a billionaire to blame.
Andre does, and the entire Meta team for making a Quest machine that is apparently crashes way more than any other VR headset I've ever seen.
I've certainly heard. I'm sorry. Did you hear that?
Yeah,
I felt like
I did hear that.
Mic.
I did hear that quick blip of an audio bit.
Ooh, that made me jump. My apologies. Yeah, no, it is.
Okay.
We're about 4 hours north of those storms that unfortunately affected Central Texas this past weekend. I'm sure everyone's seen the news about that, but we are getting hammered here in Dallas right now. The sky has turned a little green, so that's usually never a good sign.
No.
So if I disappear, that might be why. My townhome is no longer on the earth, and I'm going to Kansas or something. Going to see Oz.
Well, let's hope you don't have to get forcibly relocated via weather, or any other reason for that matter, but via weather. But thankfully, hopefully, glad to hear that it wasn't the same storms that you were dealing with that caused Andre Saba's unfortunate, at least race pause. Back out and running, I believe. Nope, sorry, not back out and running yet. Hopefully back out and running before the end of the race. William Master desperately trying not to run into Tyler Roberts. Taking a quick look through my GT4 racers. Still a commanding lead, five-ish minutes to Devin Adams. And a solid lap and some change to his other opponent in the GT4 Pro standings, Joe Evers. Mauricio Marquez Ramos, Joshua Harless in for as well for a more lengthy pit. I believe damage there is my guess. Battle for P9 now after the pit cycle with Marcus Osborne, Kelvin Quado. Now Nick Terrell in the background of this shot as well. What are your thoughts on the over-under of a safety car coming back out? Or coming out?
Oh, 15 minutes left. I mean, it is set up odds-wise to not have one. But you never know how. I do have the timer up, and I'm just staring at it. A safety car right now would benefit those who are coming into pit already, right? Because we are going to budge the field up before they come in. So you're looking at if there was a safety car right now, I believe Tony Caicedo is going to be, he's the leader of the people who have who may not have to pit again.
Yes.
Nicholas Maynard has pit twice, but one of those was early for his incident, so he's definitely going to have to come in again.
Yeah.
And would come in probably under a safety car here. So there's quite a few. I'm sure Mitch Bonaventura, Chris Krauts, Luke Plaisance, Chris Wells. Those are the 4 GT3s only one lap down are hoping for it. Sometimes, what's crazy is one of my early seasons at OMEC, we had a safety car late in a race at Suzuka. And I was a lap down, got the lap back, came back to get in line in P20 after being a lap down for almost the entire race. And I ended up finishing the race in P8, I think, after a 20-minute sprint at the end. So you never know, if you're a lap down and you're sitting kind of in that P20 in these endurance races, you get your lap back and chaos ensues in front of you. You never really know where you're going to end up.
Kelvin Quado without a wing. What happened here?
It's usually not an ideal aerodynamic situation.
Got lost in Palanchimont. Crashes into that rear end, into that. And that everything just kind of falls apart from there. The wing took its sweet time falling off. I think that was the sim saying, I shouldn't be attached anymore. So Kelvin Quado coming in. I think we'll be taking his fast repair and maybe doing his second box early. If he fuel saves, he might be able to make it to the end, is my thought process.
I think from here you can do it. It's going to be an aggressive save, but I think from here you'd probably be able to. You're going to have to do some pretty extreme saving, so you're not going to be setting the world on fire with your lap times, but you can probably get the car home.
Mm-hmm. The Patrick Canterell also in the pit lane for his, I would assume, final stop. Teammates of Outlander Racing, once again, passing each other. GT4 field fairly spread out, but I think this draft here from his teammate might help Jaden Rissard get back into the battle he had with Sean Roberts a little while ago. Ian Baker also diving into pit lane from P3 to do his final pit stop. Solomon Landauer once again, I believe is being labeled as crashed. Yeah. Bit of a rough night for Solomon. I think the wet weather, is catching him out more than he was expecting. Bit of a pretty spread out grid otherwise. The Justin Hall 20 seconds behind Dan Griffin. Dan Griffin on a fantastic run with the 218s, very consistent there. Nicholas Maynard setting the fastest lap with a 217.65. Chris Kraus, Matt
Griffin's got to be loving this right now after finishing second both races last week to have kind of a
Dan Griffin.
I mean, at this point, yeah, a little bit of a Sunday drive for him at this point with the issues that Maynard has had. He's gonna claw back a little bit of that point differential that Maynard was able to build up that first week.
Yeah, I remember Dan had a rather unfortunate spin in Hungaroring, if I remember correctly.
Oh, that's right.
And got into, I believe, another GT4 in the process about midway through that race at Hungaroring, which is why he's so far down our standings at this point. Had a P2 finish, was slotted for a pretty solid P1, P2 contention up until that point at Hungaroring. So definitely, I think, enjoying having the freedom to kind of rest easy, not push, just get that car home without causing too much problems. He's within, I would say, his final pit window. We are an hour in. We got 30 minutes left to go. Marcus Osborne in pit lane. Matt Markley, Charles Rotes, Chris Kraus, Jaden Rissard, all coming in for their final pit stops. Jordan Yakubonis, obviously Landon Height and Solomon Landauer in pit lane with various damages that they're getting fixed. Nicholas Maynard setting that fastest lap this past time by 217.56. Like you said, about 20 seconds faster than they were racing at the beginning of this race.
Yeah, and the track is kind of that perfect 90-degree temperature right now, where it's not too cold, not too hot. Tires are good, air temp's good. So they're at happy hour right now as this track continues to dry out. It's now moved to a mostly dry state instead of a. I believe there's one that's more wet than mostly dry, but not quite wet. Oh, I see there's one off down there.
Yeah, Ian Baker got off at Puan. Unfortunately, he was P3 prior to the pit cycle, came out, was having a pretty good run so far. Tires, I think, got a little wet, and he went to give the turn and lost it there. Loses it again as he's doing this because he has no wing to keep that car planted. That rear end getting more crunched. I think he'll be popping in. I think maybe take that quick repair before the end of the race and get that car back going the right direction. But all your leaders, everybody besides your leader in Justin Hall, William Laster, Nate Sides, Michael Doyen, Jesse Olsen, top 6 drivers into the pit lane for their second and final pit stop. The safety car or competition caution window rapidly closing.
Got about 8 minutes until it's going to be a green flag race, so we'll see how this all shakes out here. I'm interested to see where Marcus comes out in all this. He was leading the GT3 AMs coming into this pit cycle, so we will see if he's able to stay there.
Yeah, currently
through this pit cycle.
Am I blind?
I think he's currently running P16.
Yeah, I just couldn't find his name for some reason on my timing tower to take a look at him and see where he is. P16 overall, P4 in class. All the drivers ahead of him have yet to pit for their second stop. Dan Griffin diving in this time by to do his final pit stop. And have to see where he comes out relative to Justin Hall. Nick Terrell, I believe, will take over the lead of the race once. Oh, excuse me. He said he entered pit lane, but he didn't actually enter pit lane.
Dan Griffin may have a big enough lead that he might come out in front of Nick. I think Nick is 55 seconds behind him right now.
Oh, that's what he did do that. Or it just didn't say say he was there. Well, while I was looking at that, Dan Griffin has crashed. So
I was gonna say something. Dan Griffin is in the pit lane.
yes, he has been labeled as crashed. He either ran out of fuel.
Did he miss the pit? He reset to the pit lane.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out what happened
What's gone on with Dan Griffin?
Because he.
Oh no! In the pit lane, he was coming down the main pit lane and didn't make the turn to the Enduro layout and ended up back on the track.
And did not come back in. Is that what I missed there? Because I jumped away from it too soon.
Watch this. He went through the cones.
All right.
And ended up back on track and had to reset because he was out of fuel.
We'll speed this up.
I think that will promote. Will that promote Justin Hall?
Yes.
To the overall lead?
Oh yeah, he did not come back into it, so he is. And that I think, of course,
no.
Causes an issue there. Does that count as an unsafe pit exit?
I'd
have to imagine. I don't recall. I've not done that on the new one to know myself. I've heard
he does not currently have
but he did
a
also
black flag, but he didn't get far enough that it would have registered necessarily, because I don't think it registers till you pass the blue cone.
Yeah.
So what I don't know is if when he comes out after towing
and
taking his pit stop, if he will come out then.
Cool.
We're going to learn something tonight.
Yes, yeah, that we are. Justin Hall.
I think he's coming out of the pits right now. Oh, that's Ian Baker. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
Very
Ian
similar
Baker.
Proton competition paint.
Coming out after his accident. Jaden Rissard also being labeled as crashed here. We'll see what happens here. I believe he has a similar spin that we see a couple other cars do with that is still a very wet curb. And he bounces that car, spins it around. I believe he jumps does not jump for the pits, but does take it back to pit lane after making friends with tire barriers on both sides. And Ian Baker, after getting that car put back together, I think loses it once again. Coming into the braking zone here. Just spins it. And does not fix the steering. And tows. Did his wheel disconnect? Because it kind of looks like he just kept it that way. Adam Dahl comes into pit lane. I believe Khalil McIntyre also doing the same thing. Trying to see where we're at here. Nick Terrell entering pit lane from the lead. Justin Hall taking that lead back as Nick Terrell had to come in for that final pit stop. I don't think he made the one stop work quite as much as he wanted to. Man, this has been a lot.
There's been a lot going on this race. Though I will say Nick, I think, was P13 before the stops. But he's going to have a pit stop that's going to be, maybe even close to half the time of some of the rest of this field, because he only has to take 20 minutes of fuel here. He is going to take fresh tires. Watching him do that now. Cars up on the jacks. But he might come out in front. I'm just looking at the times coming through. I mean, he's got a massive gap back to Jesse Olsen.
Yeah.
I believe. I'm incorrect, not Jesse Olsen. He's got a big gap down to Tony, and Nick's moving. So, he is stuck behind a GT4 though. That's gonna be, it's gonna really hamper him on exit here.
Dan Griffin, also coming out of pit lane. And
Nick has got to be just itching to go.
He is waiting.
You can't do anything. You can't do anything until you hit that blue cone, and there he goes.
Now he's free.
That probably cost Nick 4 or 5 seconds there, and maybe the chance to get Markley, as he's going to have to go chase him down now 4 seconds back. I would say that cost him about 4 seconds of time. Somehow Dan Griffin has still come out P10 here after all that, and he doesn't have a black flag. I think resetting to the pit lane may have saved him.
Yeah, because he didn't finish
from getting that black flag. He didn't finish exiting. Yeah.
Wild.
Good to know for the 24-hour race this weekend.
Yes. The thing that bothers me is that they don't have the barrier up, like a physical barrier up, to prevent you from just going back out on the track in the new version.
Do they? There's got to be a barrier in real life, correct?
I believe so.
I should have watched the real race more closely. I didn't even think to look for that.
Yeah, I didn't either. It's another thing I have to look at. You want to talk about a recovery drive? Nicholas Maynard, despite his damage earlier, made his way up to P5 before the pit cycle.
He's probably going to come out around where Dan is.
I think so.
Because Dan's coming through, about to come through Blanchimont behind Nick.
Yeah.
These two might end up fighting at the end of the race anyways. After all their issues, they're still going to end up near each other potentially.
It's very possible. Nicholas Maynard is coming down, made it through the corner without leaving. Marcus Osborne.
Oh, I got my timing way wrong there.
Yeah.
He's going to come out about 20 seconds behind Dan Griffin.
Yeah. Marcus Osborne has retaken the lead of GT3 AM. He's solid 30 seconds ahead of Richard Costanza, so a bit of a fantastic drive there from Marcus. Wonder if we'll see him get promoted back into GT3 Pro. Nick Terrell getting hounded by Dan Griffin. Though, he does come out, I think he'll come out just behind Kevin Medina and Marcus Osborne. Potentially in a fight with Kelvin Collado.
And I think also a lot of those guys in the top 12 maybe will get an extra spot because Tony Caicedo's already on lap 7 of this stint. I think the most you can do is 13. And with 19 minutes to go, I think Tony's going to have to come in for a splash at the end, which I think we called out earlier. You called that out earlier.
I believe so, because of how early he came in for dries / to get that damage repaired from when he spun in this corner.
Right now, he is the biggest mover. But if he pits, I think they'll promote Nick to the biggest mover because that would move Nick up to P7, even though he's getting absolutely harassed by Dan Griffin at the moment in the Mustang. So Nick started P25. He's currently up 17 spots. If Tony pits, that'd move him up to an 18th spot, but that's only if he can hold off Dan. And Dan seems to be very interested in coming by the BMW right now.
Yeah, I think Dan's looking to get as many spots back as he can. Probably kicking himself for that incident earlier. Well, we have not talked about it much. Devin Adams leading GT4 AM by a solid margin to Sean Harvey of 30 seconds. Another 40 seconds from him to Sean Roberts. And then another minute and a half back to Gary Yee, who is in pit lane now, as Jaden Rissard is working his way back around for P5 of GT4 AM. Joe Evers having a pretty fantastic recovery run as much as he can. Only 5 seconds, I think, separates him and Jaden Rissard. Dan's
I'm just so locked in on watching this battle at the moment with Dan and Nick.
Yeah, they got battle here. Dan just has the run to get around him.
Yeah, Nick doesn't have even a chance to put up much of a fight there.
Further back,
a little bit front end damage on that BMW too, probably bringing the overall speed down a little bit.
Nicholas Maynard getting around Kelvin Collado and Marcus Osborne, I think in just as many corners between Eau Rouge and Radion and the Kemmel Straight? I think that's right. So now trying to get around Kevin Medina. Chris Wells coming in for the splash and dash. I believe we'll probably see Tony come in pretty soon as well. Dan getting a second on the car in front of him. Gary Yee Oh, Nicholas Maynard stopping to give back the space that Kevin Medina he had before Kevin Medina due to that spin. It's very gentlemanly driving as a result. Gary Yee, I think, is chased down Joe Evers for GT4 overall. At least was prior to this. Joe Evers back up into 6th in GT4 overall.
Yeah, the GT4 has been very spread out this evening. It's I think Tyler Roberts has a 40-second lead right now. Tyler Roberts actually in front of a couple GT3s that are still running. So Tyler Roberts has had a fantastic race this evening. Minding his own business, avoiding the trouble, and probably going to take home a GT4 win if he keeps his nose clean over the next 15 minutes or so.
Yeah, he's got to try to let his teammate through, Patrick Cantrell, as well as, I believe that is Michael Doyen? No, excuse me, Richard Costanza, who are both duking it out for GT4 overall positions. Yeah, a solid 40-second gap and a whole lap gap to his next rival in class. I get the feeling we'll see a few of these GT4 AM drivers end up in GT4 Pro.
Well, they're certainly making a case for themselves.
Yeah. Nicholas Maynard getting around Kevin Medina without sending him off track this time. Now trying to get back around Calvin Collado and Marcus Osborne, who passed by him as he was gracious enough to get Kevin Medina back onto the track. And Dan Griffin not pulling too much of a gap. You can still see him back there. Oh, into the water there. Kept the car from being too badly spun. Oh, getting real loose as it's finding the little puddles of water off the racing line that he's still trying to use. It's not a dry track. It's just a dry racing line.
Yeah, and this is when you see the drivers start to get aggressive and the puddles are on the apex. They're always at the apex. They're always at the worst spot. So right where you're trying to get to on exit and on mid-corner is the place where it still could be a little treacherous. And Nicholas Maynard.
That was Nicholas Maynard.
That was a little wide there. He's pushing, trying to get back any spot that he can. I mean, if he can get past these two, he's back up to the top 10, salvage something on the day after his incident earlier.
Yeah. Not far behind them. Yeah, Calvin Collado, I think, letting him by there. Marcus Osborne holding out there. We'll see how Eau Rouge and Radion fare out. Further ahead, Dan Griffin getting up to Matt Markley to try to get a position back of his own. Just has a fantastic run here. Torn between this one, too wide there, and a little bit further back, too wide down the start-finish stretch. As Nicholas Markley goes around Marcus Osborne. While not a battle for position, Patrick Cantrell, Richard Costanza have been fighting it out. Richard Costanza running slightly faster lap times than Patrick Cantrell. Patrick Cantrell running a 2:20.79 versus a 2:20.01 of Richard Costanza. Jaden Rissard in, I believe, to maybe do a drive-through. I have to guess.
Does not look like it. He might be taking a splash here.
That also, I guess, makes sense.
I see two black flags with Jaden Rissard and Kyle Orvetz both owe a drive-through
Okay,
to pay for their sins.
Jaden Rissard that I was talking about.
Yes, and I think Nate Sides is slowly but surely gaining on Justin Hall. It's only about a second separating the leader from P2 at the moment.
Yeah.
And Nate Sides, I think, smells a little bit of blood in the water and sees a chance for an overall win tonight if he can get up into the draft of Justin Hall here. I know that Mustang has been rapid around here. At one point, we had 3 Mustangs in the top 3. So once again, the front engine cars seem to be, I don't want to say dominant, but this is the 3rd week in a row.
It is the 3rd week in a row, but we've also seen we've seen both race leaders for better parts of the race have a incident at some point or another. So it's definitely not simply a dominant machine on its own. I would have to say that Nate definitely smells blood in the water with that closing speed. Justin Hall, I wonder if Justin Hall has to fuel save to make it to the end.
Justin Hall and Nate Pitt on the same lap, but is that Mustang guzzling a little bit more fuel than the Mercedes is?
Because that car is definitely losing pace rapidly to Nate Sides.
Oh, and he's going to catch a GT4 at a really bad part of the track.
Tal
Let's see
Roberts.
if that GT4 stays out of the way.
Nate
Nate is
lunges
going
up
to
the inside.
Oh, big move from Nate. Really wanted to get past Tyler there. It's actually going to end up costing him about half a second of time.
Yeah, that gap that he had just closed down reopened, but kept it out of the doors, kept it out of anybody else's way, so he'll be able to get that car back going the right direction. Yeah, Nate Sides, I think up until that point had been running a faster lap than Justin Hall, and I think that'll probably continue once he is free and clear of Tyler Roberts. Really pushing to find the pace there. Nick Terrell closing on Matt Markley as well. Kevin Medina closing on Kelvin Collado. Tony Caicedo in this lap for his final pit stop. So we'll see him probably drop down the order a little ways. Matt Markley labeled as crashed. He's still moving in the right direction. I wonder if something happened with him and Jaden Rissard. Yeah,
I believe Tony is in for his splash now.
Yes. I had just mentioned that.
I'm sorry.
You're
I
okay.
was all over the place. There's a lot of movement on the standing.
There was. That is okay. Tony is in for his final pit stop. Michael Doyen, Oil Master, kind of battling it out for P3, the bottom step of the podium as well. All right, the window has been closed for a little while now. We're getting down to the last 10 minutes. What late race decisions do you expect to see happen here as they get into kind of the closing stages of the race for all these drivers?
You know, I think the big thing, the field's relatively spread out. There's only a couple close battles. I think everyone's, there's going to be a couple others tight on fuel, and that might be the only way that some other drivers move up through the order at this point. The guys who I'm watching, Kelvin Collado is on lap 10 of his stint. He's probably going to have to take a quick splash. Mitch Bonaventura is going to have to pit. Patrick Cantrell might have to pit.
Well, you called it. Mitch Bonaventura just came into pit.
It's like I'm a wizard. All the way down the order, it looks like Josh Harless is going to have to come in again, but he's got a fairly decent chunk of change to spend over Chris Kraus. So we'll see if he's able to hold on. They're way down in P22 and 23. Other than that, Lemaster's making a move on Doyen for the final step on the podium. Battle of 2 Porsches right now. They've got plenty of fuel. They're going to be fighting to the end, I believe.
I just have to imagine now that the draft is swapped. There's a lap traffic in that as well. I think that's Wesley Waddell. the background of that shot? Yes, it is.
Oh, and LeMaster's all over the place trying to break that draft.
Yeah, absolutely. That is some very aggressive weaving trying to keep that draft from happening. He is pushing really hard. But that Michael Doyen seems to be very strong in this middle sector here. That car it looks like it's set up to do well in there. Tony Caicedo back in pit lane. Does he need to serve a drive-through?
Tony is serving a drive-through. He just got his 18th incident point, which is the cutoff for these enduros. There's a couple other drivers who are right on the edge, who are definitely trying to avoid that last off track in order to avoid having to serve the same penalty. And Tony was having such a great day climbing through the field up until then.
Nicholas Maynard.
Oh, another issue for Nicholas Maynard.
Off there. I'm going to figure out what happened here. Oh, in right there. I wonder if there's...
He get into a GT4, it looked like.
It looked like he got into a GT4 before all that happened. Let's see if I can back it up any further. That's... Yeah, there's... Okay. It's right along board.
Oh, no.
Let's see what happens here with them. Oh, very loose here. Oh, no. Just has nowhere to put that car. And gets into the back end.
I'm curious if the GT4 there... I don't know if they lost drive. I mean, they were uncharacteristically slow at the top of Radion there. That was Solomon Landauer.
Yeah, Solomon Landauer has been slow all evening. I think it's just been a struggle getting a feel for it and the wet tires. And I think there's just a bit of a learning curve for him this evening. But an unfortunate piece there.
And he got a little over the curve. I'm curious if he got unsettled and was trying to collect the car. And then Nick Maynard, just the closing speed between those two cars at the top of the hill there. It's just too much to try to correct. That's the second big incident we've seen at the top of Radion tonight.
Yeah, which I'm kind of thankful we haven't seen too many more, but it's still unfortunate to see. Oh, it just all is in that front right corner, gets all that impact and that energy gets transferred there. Justin Hall seeming to keep clear of Nate's sides. I think he got his speed corrected. Kelvin Collado also in for that splash and dash I think you were talking about. Which also, I think
the next two, I'm looking at Matt Markley and Marcus Osborne. Hopefully they've been fuel saving. It would be a real shame to see them have to come into pit here with only... they might be coming to the white flag next time by. No, they're going to have 2 more laps, it looks like, eventually. And that's going to be a stretch for Osborne and Markley in order to get them to the finish line here, which real shame for Marcus because I don't know if he has the gap to come back out still in the AM lead. And that might promote Richard Costanza to the AM lead, but we'll see how that all shakes out over the next couple minutes.
Yeah, 40 seconds between the two of them at race pace. I think that's not going to be quite enough depending on how long he's in the box. If he's just for a splash, he might be fighting Richard for the win if he needs to come in.
Yeah, a lot of chatter over driver radio about fuel saving right now as well. So I think a lot of guys are getting stressed about it. I mean, Nate and Justin up at the front, in theory, should be good.
Yeah.
The top 4 are on lap 11 of their stint. In theory, 12 to 13 is the number. Nate's still with a big fuel save into Lake Home there. So he was off throttle real early. So he's...
This is a battle I didn't expect to see. Nick, what happened here? Nick Terrell rapidly catching up on Dan. I wonder if Dan's doing some fuel saving as well.
You know, if Dan's short fueled, he may have some issues. Nick's poking his nose in. Don't need to invite him twice.
We didn't pull anybody into the booth this broadcast.
I don't think we needed to.
That's
There
very
has been
true.
so much action from start to we are. I mean, it's just the first 20 minutes. It felt like was enough to cover an hour and a half race, and
Yeah, I wonder what happened there.
I think you're completely right about Dan Griffin. I think he wants to be in the draft here.
I think he just wants to fuel save as much as he can because there's.
Huge lift coming into Lake Home.
Are we on the white flag, or are we still have one to go? Oh, this battle's come back together as well. I'm gonna hop over to it just to take a look. Michael Doyen not letting William LeMaster have that bottom step of the podium free and clear. Oh, big into the gravel, late on the brakes.
Oh, Justin Hall's in the pits.
Justin Hall is in the pits.
Justin Hall's in the pits. They're taking the white flag this time by.
Oh, and he
Barney
doesn't have
is waving the white flag.
and he doesn't have the gas to get to it.
Nate Sides is going to go for it.
I think Nate's usually pretty good on fuel saving to do it. And I think he also has such a big gap to William Master. He can lift as much as he wants and make it to the checkered flag, I think, pretty easily.
What has gone on with our leaders? This is our 5th leader of the evening?
I believe so. This will be our fifth leader to complete a lap. Oh, they're getting through lap traffic as well. Khalil McIntyre trying to keep out of the way of these two and their duel for the bottom step of the podium. I think we'll probably be following them all the way around to the white flag to the start finish line. Yeah, that white flag is out. Barney's waving it pretty aggressively. Two of them. Michael Doyen in that Veterans United Porsche versus the William Master. Number 512.
Oh, and Justin Hall's going to go, and they might meet at the top of the hill.
Oh, they are kind of meeting at the top of the hill. Justin Hall, thankfully, off the racing line, so not something we have to worry about yet. But Jesse Olsen coming out right behind him. Wanted to look at that just for a moment. Too wide. Michael Doyen having the better run there. And blinking. Oh, okay, cool.
Oh, goodness.
Okay. Oh, and William Master loses it and spins because of that blink. And now he's in the way.
No.
Oh, man.
My goodness.
Oh, Jesse Olsen caught up in it as well. Just trying to get back onto the track and is just pushing William LeMaster. Yeah, is not happy. Pushes that into the lap traffic of, I believe that was Wesley Waddell. A unhappy William LeMaster. Matt Markley, Marcus Osborne, both in pit lane for a splash and dash on the last lap as well.
What was in the water this evening?
I don't know. Calvin Collado, Richard Costanza trying to battle it out for the last spot here. Nate Sides coming around Blanchimont to take the checkered flag here in a couple corners time. Assuming he doesn't run out of gas over the next 30 meters.
He's got the momentum now. He should be good. Nate Sides is going to be your winner this evening. And a absolutely chaotic hour and a half race here in the Ardennes.
Yeah. Michael Doyen coming around to take P2. Justin Hall 3 seconds behind him. And he'll come home P2 amongst all this. And P3, Justin Hall also taking that checkered flag. Leader of GT4 Pro and GT4 overall. Tyler Roberts, I believe, coming around to take the checkered flag this time by as well. As they do so. And Devin Adams, 30 seconds behind, going through No Name with Kelvin Collado for company. Patrick Cantel finishing a lap down from the leaders. Tony Caicedo rounding out a lap as well. Seeing where everyone finished. And Richard Costanza, 14 seconds ahead of Marcus Osborne. I believe a bit of a heartbreaker for Marcus tonight.
Marcus almost had that win. Just couldn't get the fuel number to work for him. huge night for Veterans United, though. A win in
Absolutely.
GT3 AM, potentially. I don't want to jinx it.
We're not done yet.
He's still got a Porsche, and he's got to go through Blanchimont still.
Oh, yeah. Dangerous corner at the best times for Porsche cars.
But Michael Doyen getting the car into P2. He's made it through the hairy part. Just bring it home.
Yeah, plenty of room to the car behind. No need to push it.
And there it is.
All right.
And just
Marcus,
behind him, Devin Adams is going to bring home the win in GT4 AM. Tyler Roberts has got the win in GT4 Pro. What an event.
Marcus Osborne coming on P2. Adam Dahl on the podium of GT3 AM. A fantastic run for him. All right. Well, shall we have an interview with the winner of tonight, Nate Sides?
He's waiting for us. Let's bring him in.
All right, let's bring him in. Let's look at results here.
Nate Sides.
What's up?
What an event this evening.
I'm assuming you saw how many times I spun.
We saw you. The whole field seemed to spin. There was 2 issues with leaders at one point.
Yeah.
A leader self-spun. A leader missed the pit lane. Well, not even missed the pit lane. A leader went in the pit lane and didn't make the turn in the pit lane. And then reset back, and then Justin didn't have the fuel, so tell us about that. Was the Mercedes just a little bit better on fuel there at the end?
I guess I didn't think I was saving that much because I kept he got royally screwed by a pack of cars, and I gained I think 6 or 8 seconds on him in 2 turns, and then I think just with the pressure it was enough to force him into using too much fuel at the very end. I mean I can only do a little bit of a burnout. I ran out of fuel.
I did see that. But you made it. You made the win. Yeah. It's been a little while for an overall win. I feel like it's been. Did you get any of the GTPs last season?
Yeah, I got the one rain race that we did at, or I don't know if it was one, but the rain race at Motegi, I think.
Okay, so it hasn't been that long.
Right. But still, like I don't really think I'm all that good in the rain, but here we are.
It was chaos all around. I think this is a race that you should go back and watch the broadcast of. The first 15 minutes were just replays.
Oh,
we were just trying to keep track of everything that was going on, and we probably still missed 50% of it. Absolute pandemonium through the field. So, kind of talk us through that first stint in the wet. It looked pretty hairy out there. When did it start to feel like the track was drying up at all?
Honestly, right at the very end of the first stint, you could see a dry line. Tony had wrecked, and he came in and put dry tires on about 3 laps before the rest of us. So he was kind of filling us in on what's going on, and I saw that he was putting fast laps in, so I was like, well, it's time for dries. Not even a question about it. And it was weird for some reason that first half of that second stint, it took me a long time to adjust to dry tires. I don't know why. Like my steering felt weird, but once I got it figured it out, I was good.
Well, maybe the track was cold. I did see that when everyone first started putting tires on, track temp was still about 67 degrees, and towards the end it was about, I think right now at race end, track temp was 95. So
yeah.
30-degree cooler track temp definitely changes a little bit about how you're going to heat those tires up. Was this the first time you ran the new tires in the wet?
Here in no, actually, in another league I ran them, and I ran the Mercedes, and I was like, this is nice because it's not like the front engine rear wheel drive cars are just going to get absolutely obliterated by the mid engine rear engine cars.
I do have a question about that. This is the front engine cars. At one point tonight, we're running, I think, 1, 2, 3, 5, 6. Yeah. Front engine cars have won both events, or all 3 events this year, and the preseason shakedown race. Are the new tires turning this into a front engine meta? Should I be worried about running the Porsche in the 24 hours this weekend?
Well, we're running a Lambo, so I mean, we're right there with you. I don't know. I don't know if it's like you can you can kind of like set the front end in the turns. I feel like I can get turn quicker than the rear engine cars.
Not as understeery as it used to be. I feel like they were all very. I don't know. I never liked the front engine cars before, but I haven't driven them since the new tire model. So I'm going to experience the Porsche for the first time this weekend. So do you have any tips for me?
I mean, I could give you tips for the old Porsche, but the new Porsche, I don't know. You steer much more than you think you do or should, because you could feel how light the front end is. I would also turn your force feedback up too, because it's like dull. But
well, I only have 5 newton meters on a desk mount, so I'm gonna be hoping and praying.
Max it out, baby.
All right. Okay. With that, we're gonna bring in the old booth. I see Marcus and Devin.
Let's get them in here.
I kind of want to bring them both in together. Nate, I will not subject that to you. So congratulations on your win this evening.
Thanks, man.
Surviving the chaos, and see you out next week.
Yep. See ya.
All right.
Oh,
Marcus and Devin, we figured we'd bring you in together, get the old booth back together.
perfect.
Whoa.
This is exactly what I like to hear.
It just steal my spotlight.
Well, you didn't win.
Yeah, one of
That's
you
true.
won. It wasn't you.
That's true.
Devin did win in the
I came
GT4
close.
AMs. You were close,
Yeah.
but not
The
close
pit
enough.
stop at the end. Devin or Adam almost made sure I didn't finish.
How was that?
So, yeah, I
Is
want to
it-
hear about this.
When we exited the pits, it was me and Adam Dahl coming up on a GT4 on the final lap, but it was 3 wide. I was in the middle, and he understeered a little bit and spun me. But we got it. We're
Wow.
here.
Oh,
Yeah.
we completely missed out on the broadcast. There was a whole kerfuffle
That's a
in
good
Lake
one.
Home on the last lap in the
Let's see if I can find
GT3
it.
field.
You know, this sounded
I would encourage
like
you to go watch the broadcast.
I definitely will. This sounded like a eventful race, but from my point of view, it was good. How many
It
of
was
the
a very
GT3s
eventful race.
How many of the GT3s went on dry tires on the first pit stop?
Everyone.
Oh, really?
All but like 2 that forgot to change
Yeah,
it.
all
There was, like
but,
Mitch
like, 2.
Bonaventura and then like one other.
And Jesse Olsen?
Maybe, but
It
like
was
2.
the 2 in front of me because their tires didn't change. I'm like, no way, they're still out on dries. Or
Yeah, and I
wets.
don't think that was on purpose because I think at that
Yeah.
point the dry line had formed. It looked like everyone was pitting not only because of fuel. I saw a couple people pit probably a lap early and take shorter stops. So I think some of it was a call to the dries. I know Tony went early, but Devin, you're the one with the GT4 perspective. Tell us what that drying track was like, or the wet track. What was that like in the GT4 class? We saw quite a few spins in Eau Rouge and Radion. I saw you have a couple issues, but still managed to take home the win. So tell us about your race.
You know, puddles are wet. Don't drive in the puddles.
Well, I have
Yeah.
a question for you, Devin. Are puddles wet?
Puddles are very wet. I can confirm. I
But is-
tested.
But aren't puddles just water, and is water wet?
Oh my goodness, are we gonna be doing this conversation right now?
You know, now that
I think I just broke
about it,
Devin's brain a little bit.
because
Or-
isn't like water's like cells, right?
I mean, everything is cells.
No, not water.
Yeah, I
Water's
mean,
just
no.
molecules.
Oh.
yeah. Sorry, that's
All
what I
right.
meant.
Anyway,
not cells.
okay.
Anyway.
This isn't important. We need to talk about how I just won AM, and
Yes.
that's fantastic with a meatball.
With
Get ready to learn GT4 Pro, buddy.
Yeah.
Absolutely not. We're not doing any promotions mid-season.
That's
We-
definitely not how that
he is-
conversation's been
That's
going.
not up to you. Marcus, should Devin get promoted to GT4 Pro?
As long as you don't promote me to GT3 Pro.
I don't think you're good enough.
No, I was
Yeah.
getting passed left and right. What was I, like
But you-
12th overall?
You were running 9th at one point overall.
Yeah, I had some good pit stops.
You had a great race up until you forgot how to fuel save.
Yeah, that thing drank fuel. I figured I would be fine, but here we are.
It certainly did. But yes, I would encourage both of you to go watch broadcast, there was a hellacious collision between the Landons at the top of Radion around halfway through. So go watch the broadcast. Go see what's going on there. Yeah, there's only 2 drivers in GT4 Pro right now. Devin, you're getting promoted. I'm saying it right now. I'll put it out in the air, and I will campaign for it.
Devin, you're already a Season 2 champion.
Buddy, that's when we had
You
6 people on the entire
You got a
grid between
championship
2
on the
classes.
belt, all right? You're ready to
Who-
go to pro.
Yeah, who won GT4 Pro and was still faster than some of the GT4 Pros last week?
Buddy,
That's you,
not
man.
my problem.
Yeah, that's why you're going to GT4 Pro.
No,
It's not
no,
your problem
no,
either.
no.
I
Well, Devin, congratulations on the promotion. Marcus,
Oh my God,
congratulations
guys,
on the
come on now. We
P2.
don't have to do this. We don't have to.
I'm going to
just
pull
happy
both y'all out of here. So I just want to say
Talk about
congratulations to you both. Marcus, I hope it goes better for you next time.
Absolutely. I mean, P2 is good.
P2's great. P1's better.
Fantastic. P1's better, but I'm just here for a good time.
You know,
Oh.
it's much better than spinning on the pace lap and then getting hit by your teammate.
That is
Mhm.
true. I avoided that. I'd also like to say shout out to Tony Caicedo. I haven't really raced with him before, but he's the most aggressive, scary person I've ever raced around.
Do you understand
You know, like
what we need now?
downpour, first lap. Tony is just in my mirror,
Do you
sending it at every possible. Like everyone's being calm and chill. And here comes
He's
Tony.
a little pit bull. It's
He is,
just
and
it
then he-
doesn't matter.
It's
and
insane.
there's I don't know who has the leash anymore because I'm no longer in the in the second car.
Yeah, Tony's kind of a free spirit at the moment. There's nobody to rein him in on the racetrack, and if you leave him even a tiniest window of space, he's gonna poke his nose in there. It's not a bad thing. If you're listening, I am not making fun of you. Other than your jump starts, you gotta stop
Yeah.
doing that.
Yeah. Make sure you're in first gear, but don't go too soon because that's the other problem. It's either jump starts or no starts.
But all right, well, congratulations, Marcus. I'm gonna send you back down to the focus.
Thanks, guys.
All right. Well, we have Landon Height in the interview room. Where did Landon Height finish?
Not on the podium. I
Okay.
don't think he gets an interview today.
Well, was he? He wasn't last either. So I don't know if we still do if they were last, they can also get interviewed.
Well, he doesn't meet either criteria, even if we are doing it.
Sweet.
Landon,
we'll-
if you're listening, finish on the podium or finish last. We'll get you in here next
Yeah.
time.
Yes. So, with that, let's go. We have a quick rundown, because we are running a little long here, of our race results. I'm gonna start out with GT3 Pro. I'm just gonna blitz through them. Nate Sides with that beautiful victory due to essentially fuel saving and not spinning is what it looked like. Taking home the win. Michael Doyen having a fantastic final lap, getting that pass done into the Camel Straight and bring it home there. Justin Hall managing a P3 after having P1 and then needing fuel in the last lap. Jesse Olsen, William Lemaster round out your top 5. Dan Griffin, Nick Terrell, Kevin Medina, Matt Markley, and Tony Caicedo are your top 10. Calvin Collado, Patrick Cantrell, Mitch Buenaventura, Nicholas Maynard, Mauricio Marquez Ramos are your last top 15 that took to the checkered flag. Ian Baker and Andre Saba both did not finish their race. Kevin, GT3 AM, how's that looking?
GT3 Anfield won by the very own Richard Costanza in his second race back in OMEC after taking a
Fantastic.
followed closely by the namesake of the league, Casaz. Happy to see him up there. Adam Dahl coming in behind that. Charles Rhodes, Luke Plaisance, Khalil McIntyre, Chris Wells, Joshua Harless. Sorry, those are out of order there. Our very own Chris Kraus. Bit of a rough day, finishing three laps down. Wesley Waddle, Landon Height, who finishes right above Landon, or after their massive incident, it looks like Landon Height still had a faster pair, was able to get going after that. And propping up that table is going to be Guy Rayner and Brody Wallace. Brody also looks like Brody and Guy both they've had better days on the racetrack before. I know Brody had a rough time earlier on in the wet, and hopefully better week out next week.
Certainly. We'll hope for it. GT4 Pro, pretty simple. Tyler Roberts comes home in P1. Joe Evers 1 lap down in P2. I think we'll see some more names in here next week when GT4 Pro has a few more drivers, such as maybe Devin Adams. GT4 AM, Kevin, how does all of that look?
Well, I don't expect to see some names here in the AM standings next week, but we've got Devin Adams won by an entire lap over Sean Harvey there. Gary Yee taking up the podium in third. Sean Roberts survived multiple murder attempts from Tony Caicedo this evening to take it home in P4.
And Jaden Rissard, Tony Caicedo's new teammate, I think also maybe had a couple murder attempts.
Well, Sean is a survivor on that. Jordan Oliver coming home in P6, Kyle Orvet's P7, Solomon Landauer in P8, and Jordan Yacobonis at the bottom of the table there in P9. First night out in OMEC. I believe the second night out for Solomon. So a little bit of a rough evening for those two. Hoping to see some better results next week as well.
That is very much the case. With that, we come to the end of the stream. Thank you all very much for watching. We have, I think, had a very eventful evening. Kevin Hayes, any closing thoughts as we round out of the broadcast tonight?
Keep the car on track. It's shown that just not crashing sometimes is the best strategy of any race. So happy to see. Thankfully, this is a virtual event, and no drivers were actually harmed tonight. But yeah, it was definitely an eventful one, and 2 eventful sprint races next time out. Where are we going next week? Let's close out on that. We should probably know that.
Yeah, I have it pulled up on my end. Where we're going next week is going to be Sebring and Road Atlanta, our second sprint week. So 2 back-to-back races at Sebring and Road Atlanta. My least favorite track and my third least favorite track, or more further up the order of tracks I'm like about. So it'll be, I think, good racing, because that's what people say about Sebring, but I think good racing happens anywhere because it's not the track that makes racing good. It's the cars usually and the drivers in them. But are you excited for those 2 races next week out?
I love both those tracks, so I think you're absolutely insane for that previous statement. So I'm very excited. Sebring and Road Atlanta. Sebring, just a wonderful track in my opinion. Always a lot of chaos there, and Road Atlanta in multi-class, especially coming through the S's, is always a absolute treat. Seeing the drivers try to navigate through the slower traffic in opportune areas. So I'm expecting another couple wild ones next week as well for our 30-minute sprint races.
Yeah, I think it'll be fantastic racing all the same. It's also my favorite track to drive, but I think that's also why I'm in the booth and not out there on the track. So, but until then, we'll see you all. I think for those of you who want to partake in it, back here on Thursday for Osborne Formula Ultimate Challenge is coming back for its first weekend out. Where are they going? They're going to Algarve, Portimao.
Are you broadcasting that?
I am. I'll be back in the booth. At least I will be. I think you're going to be. Are you going to be on the track?
I'm going to be on track.
Oh, fantastic! Then we'll see Kevin Hayes out there on track, along with Tony Caicedo and the rest of the OFUC group of individuals. 30-minute practice, 45-minute racing in the Super Formula Lights. So if that's your jam, go check out the league, the Discord. If you want to go find any of this stuff or be a part of the action, you can check us out. OMECsimracing.com has all the links, I believe, for you guys to go look at. And that's there on the bottom of the screen or in the description. I did put it in this time. We talked about it last week, but it actually wasn't there. Now it's there.
And I do want to add before we sign off, huge
Certainly.
Thank you to Landon Orr for setting up that website. So we do have that merch site, which is that fourth wall OMEC sim racing. But this OMEC sim racing site, kind of the home standings, information, next race. So if you want to buy a t-shirt, you want to buy a coffee mug, you want to buy a koozie, go check out the shop.
Hoodies?
And then, I'm sorry, we do have koozies.
No,
You should go get a
hoodies.
koozie.
Not koozie.
Oh, we do
that too.
Yes,
Hoodie.
We do have hoodies.
Okay.
We have hoodies. We have joggers. We have shorts. We got everything.
All right. I'll have to see.
I'll send you
one
the
of
link.
those. All right. I mean, no, I have the link, so I've been there many times. But with that, we'll see you all next Tuesday, if not sooner, for round number 3 of the broadcast. Good night, everybody.